everybody. Welcome to Winning with Deborah, where people turn to learn. The more we know, the more we can grow. This program is not just about acquiring knowledge, but about putting it into action. Our guest today is here to educate us on a serious epidemic facing our country, obesity. We are an in the car and sit behind the desk society. Food is everywhere, and so are messages telling us to eat and drink and then to lose weight by dangerous means. Food portions at restaurants are bigger than ever. The obesity numbers are increasing each year and even higher among Blacks and Hispanics. In many of these communities, the lack of access to affordable health and healthy food and safe places to be physically active continue to grow higher and higher and contribute to obesity. Let's take a look at what a recent report from the Center for Disease Control had to say about that.
At its simplest, obesity results from people consuming more calories than their bodies burn. But it's a more complex problem than that. People didn't decide to become overweight. Their weight gain is a consequence of complicated changes in the environment, where food is more readily available and opportunities for physical activity are lacking.
Societal, economic, cultural conditions have all contributed to the rise in obesity.
One contributing factor is the fact that the way we eat has changed over the last 50 years. Americans are eating more processed foods and eating out a lot more frequently. The foods that are offered in restaurants, snack shops, and in vending machines are higher in sugar, calories, and fat than what we typically prepare in our own homes. We are surrounded by food. We're constantly bombarded by it. We're consuming larger portion sizes and more calories than ever before. Another factor is that people who live in poor and rural communities may have less access to quality grocery stores that sell healthy and affordable options. In these areas, it might be easier and cheaper for residents to purchase less healthy foods and beverages.
Other factors such as technology and the way we build our communities has influenced our lives. Both of these factors have left us more sedentary. Families must drive to work and school because it's often too far to walk. Many communities are built in ways that simply make it difficult or unsafe to be physically active. For many families, safe routes for walking and biking to school or play may not even exist. Getting to parks and recreation centers may be difficult, and public transportation may not even be available. And we spend a lot of time sitting in front of screens for work and for entertainment. Also, too few students get daily quality physical education.
Boy, that sounds pretty hopeless, but there is hope. Dr. Shauna Collins suffered from obesity since early childhood. She went to her first weight loss doctor at the age of 7 and began practicing eating disorders in her teenage years. At 15 years old, she dropped out of high school, but as a young adult, and by the grace of God, Shauna returned to school. And first she went on to earn her GED, and then a college degree, and ultimately a degree in medicine from UCLA. Dr. Collins then developed a non-dieting approach to weight loss, through which she lost 50 pounds. 50 pounds. 50 pounds. Yes. She has treated over 1,000 overweight patients with her methods before she published her best-selling book, No More Dieting, and I can tell you it's very effective. In addition to treating obesity, Dr. Collins is also a blogger and a speaker on the topics of losing weight and also some other wonderful things that we'll hear about later. Dr. Collins, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you know, you are such an example. I love people who can talk about weight loss and they're an example of it. It's kind of hard to believe you if you're not.
Yes, correct.
But I want to show the audience some before and after picture of you, and I'm just amazed every time I look at it. In fact, I look at it for inspiration. So I want you to see how you look before you lost the 50 pounds. Let's take a look at that. First of all, I can't believe you let them take that picture of you.
I know, that's pretty bold. But
that's pretty bold. I love it, and it gives you a lot of credibility.
There's no testimony without the test, so I wanted to show people what I went through.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, listen, tell me, what contributed to your being overweight as a child in the first place?
Well, there's the whole issue of nature versus nurture, genetics, and also your environment. And the CDC clip mentioned the socioeconomic status, and I was poor growing up, and we couldn't afford quality food. My mother was a widow, and we were poor, basically, and we just ate fast food, as well as genetics. That runs in my family. Being overweight runs in my family, and so I had it coming from both ends, and I was overweight from my earliest pictures as a toddler.
Did the kids tease you about it?
I was teased incessantly. School was, it was challenging for me.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
So what eating disorder did you have? What exactly did you do?
Well, you know, I was given diet pills, and I was given shots and all of these things, and at some point I took them regularly. I became anorexic. When I finally ate and I started gaining weight, I became bulimic, and that dominated my teenage years. It was just challenging. So then the weight was gone, but then I had other addictive patterns. It was a terrible experience.
I'm so glad you came through it, because I know I've been to some of your seminars. In fact, I met you when you were speaking at a church on this matter, and I was so impressed with just your sincerity, and I think your honesty really is healing to us. And so I'm really delighted to share you with our audience today. Now, what part did God play in your recovery from these addictions?
God played every part in the recovery from my addictions. I prayed and prayed and prayed to be delivered, and I felt the calling to just try instead of doing the same old behaviors, the same old patterns. For about a year and a half, it was just to do something different, to go ahead and eat and have faith and live normally and things of that sort. I was petrified. When I took one step in prayer, I was delivered instantly, literally, miraculously.
Wow.
And I literally heard something within me that said, you don't have to do that anymore. And in an instant, I was healed from bulimia. And I had tried every single day not to practice those behaviors for 8 years. So I know it was the Lord. No one can tell me otherwise.
Had something significant gone on in your life before then, maybe a traumatic event? Like, what drove you to that point before you heard the Lord speak to your spirit? Well,
oh my goodness. My teenage years, drugs, alcohol, bulimia, anorexia, dropped out of high school, running with the round crowd. I mean, I was least likely to succeed. And I was at just this pivot point of I was either going to probably die over the next couple of years, or I was going to turn things around. And I prayed in earnest, and I literally heard a voice saying, you don't have to do that anymore. I was healed in an instant.
Wow.
So no one can tell me that the Lord did not do that for me.
Amazing. Now, you had a scripture that's kind of near and dear to your heart, 2 Corinthians 10:31. Let's look at that. It says, whatsoever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all to the glory of God.
Right.
What does that mean to you?
Well, and that's how I apply it in, we'll talk about the weight loss methods in just a little bit, but basically, I know that I'm imperfect. Only Christ walks perfectly. So all that I do, whether I am reaching my goals or whether I am not so close, and actually whether I stumble and fall, I do all unto the glory of God, and His grace is sufficient unto us. And so what I like to share with people is I didn't lose the weight by being perfect, and I didn't lose it by dieting. I failed every diet I ever attempted. I lost it by giving control over to the Lord and doing my very best. His grace is sufficient unto us. So I do all, whether big or small, to the glory of God, and He will see us through.
So you have some steps, some strategies that you employ, and you said there were pretty much 3 major categories or aspects of what you did. Tell us about that.
Okay. Well, first off, as we know, every change of habit begins in the mind. So we have to change our mindset. What I did initially was I released dieting. I couldn't do it anyway. And so, these strategies are for those who suffer with compulsive eating, binge eating, or who have struggled with losing weight. It's not necessarily for everyone. Some people can diet. Some people are extremely disciplined, but I'm speaking to those who suffer from compulsive eating or eating disorders in this respect. We try to tighten the noose, so to speak, and we fail over and over. And my success came from letting go. And instead of focusing on what I can't have, I released the restrictions, I released dieting, and I focus on the best that I can do right now. And again, His grace is sufficient unto us. If we would focus on the benefits that we can do within our own ability, not compared to the one person or another, but within our own ability, moment by moment, day by day, the weight will be released.
Wow.
Because we're making forward progress at all times.
Now, you make it sound so easy. I know I've been on a diet since Jesus left.
I used to be.
You know, so I think you get programmed for dieting, and it is a cycle of failure, and
It
you know.
sure is.
Yeah, yeah.
And so number one, release, this is my opinion, I tell everyone, check with your own doctor, okay? If I'm not your doctor, you check with your own doctor, but with your doctor's agreement and within a plan, I say, you know, release dieting, release restriction. We want the forbidden fruit. As soon as we put ourselves in a cage, we fight to get out. So don't get in a cage. Instead of saying what I can't have this, I can't have that, tell yourself that with every single meal, you will do your very best. You're going to incorporate fruits and vegetables. You're going to eat half of whatever that decadent thing is. I'm not saying you can't have that decadent thing. I'm saying eat less of it. There's certain steps you can take at every single meal. Start walking today, not tomorrow. Don't wait until you can afford a gym membership or a piece of equipment. You know, there's steps you can do every single day.
I like that you said that, because when I met you and we were at a holiday party about this time last year, and you said, and I think there was dessert passing around. I said,
Yes.
oh, no, I can't have that, too many carbs. And you said, have it. No, you should have it.
That's
Just have a
right.
little bit.
That's
you
right.
know.
And I remember having it that day.
Yeah, you did.
And I enjoyed it quite well.
She had the cake.
Well, that's how I don't obsess about it, because I allow it. And then, because I allow it, I'm able to do the next step, which is, number one, I believe in eating when you're hungry. Number two, stop eating when your body says, I've had enough. Not when your taste buds, not when the show is over. We munch when we're watching TV. We eat socially. We eat for all other reasons outside of hunger. So I do eat when I'm hungry, and I stop when my body says I've had enough. Sometimes your body says I've had enough sugar. I'm still eating, but I don't want any more of that sweet thing or that oil thing.
So you have to just be conscious of it, of even when you're eating, to say, okay, am I satisfied yet? Because I knew I was going to see you today. So yesterday when I was eating, every time I sat down, I said, am I feeling satisfied
That's awesome.
yet?
Yes,
because you said
exactly.
satisfy the stomach and not the emotion.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, yes, that's exactly right. And you know, what enables me to be able to say no to seconds once my body has had enough is because the next thing is, I know that I can have that very same food the next time I'm hungry. I don't eat again until I am authentically hungry.
How do you know when you're authentically hungry?
Oh my goodness, the stomach will growl, and also you might feel a little bit dizzy if you haven't eaten for a while. I'm not saying not to eat until you are dizzy. No, I'm not saying that. But there's certain physiologic signs. Literally, food will be on your mind, your stomach will be growling, and it won't be because you're smelling something tasty. It won't be necessarily because of that. You can think and say, well, I haven't eaten in a few hours. I know I'm authentically hungry. If you've eaten, like my kids, half an hour ago and you say you're hungry, no, you're not. You just want to eat some of that good stuff again. That's not authentically hungry.
Well, is that because something is eating us?
We definitely eat out of emotions.
Okay.
So, you know, throughout my childhood years, I had some challenges, and I know that I was a stress eater. And many patients that I see will say that they are a stress eater. They're self-medicating. They don't use drugs, alcohol, what have you. But when they get home from a hard day's work, you know, it's all about that food, and it's, you know, it's usually in secret. It might be in the bed. You know, there is definitely stress eating.
And why is stress eating always centered around carbohydrates, or just things that, you know, we've been told as a dieter they're bad? But why don't
Yes.
when we stress eat, we don't stress out on carrots and celery?
I know, I wish we did, but
It's because of the sugar?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Processed carbohydrates will be quick to spike sugar in the bloodstream. And then we have all these neurotransmitters that are released that basically calm us down. And so it really is.
Oh, wait, there are neurotransmitters in sugar?
Well, our body has neurotransmitters. But
they trigger that?
They will absolutely trigger that.
Oh, that's why you feel
Dopamine,
better.
Serotonin, absolutely. And so we literally are self-medicating.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, right when we come back, and I want to show another clip of this organization is saying about obesity.
Oh, yes.
And how we need to just kind of step up to the plate now
Absolutely.
and deal with this epidemic. We'll be right back.
There is no single or simple solution to the obesity epidemic. It's going to take solutions at many levels in order to resolve the epidemic. What can each of us do as individuals to be healthier? First, we can eat more fruits and vegetables and fewer foods that are higher in fat and sugar. We can also drink more water instead of sugar drinks. Everyone, including adults of all ages and ability levels and children, need to get the recommended amount of physical activity. Parents can listen to their pediatricians and restrict television viewing for their young children to less than 2 hours a day, and we cannot put televisions in our children's bedrooms.
Dr. Shauna, you talked about the fact that when you diet, when you do your non-dieting thing, that you use some of these same principles to overcome adversity. Tell us about some adversities you've overcome and how you use these same principles.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, my goodness. Well, as I mentioned, in my teenage years, you know, drugs and alcohol, wayward child, dropped out of high school. And when I returned back to school, I was about 22 years old, earning a GED, just attending night school. And when I was encouraged after earning a GED, later on I went back to school and earned my first college degree, and then a second college degree, and then finally a medical degree. I was in school for about 17 consecutive years.
Oh.
And this is relevant to the point. My point is, I have a saying within myself. I say, baby steps, daily steps. So how I lost the weight was, it took me about 6 months. I don't do this whole overnight radical. That's not even the point. The point is changing our mindset permanently and changing how we live permanently. So it's about adopting a healthy mindset, and it's about adopting healthy habits. So what I do is I set any goal and I just take the first step that day. That is a chapter in my book. Start today, not tomorrow. You start today. You do your personal best, no one else's. You start small and you grow. Nothing is overwhelming.
You don't wait till New Year's?
I absolutely do not recommend waiting for. No, the next meal is when you will be starting this. And as a matter of fact, even before the meal, put your tennis shoes on now and take a walk around the block. Not you necessarily, but you. And so start today, always today. You do your personal best. If you slip and slide, and you know, we just passed one holiday, we're coming into other holidays. If you slip and slide and you find yourself gaining a couple pounds, don't look behind you, just look ahead and start again in that very moment and just keep moving forward. Lots of grace and mercy. Don't expect perfection.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. I think most of us don't, you know, we always have a day we're going to start.
Exactly.
You know, someday, and I always say someday is no day.
Exactly.
But I found that very empowering in your book when I read it to, you know, this whole thing, I think that was one of the things that stuck out with me. Start right now.
Just
start right now.
Not even tomorrow.
Yeah, and give yourself permission. And so what do you say to the people who fall off the wagon? Again, what do you do?
You know, we're in the habit of saying we're going to make up for that. And so as many times as we dietarily sin, we would have so much to make up for. Don't make up for it. Just move forward from this point onward. So have mercy and have grace. No one is perfect but Christ. So the rest of us are going to make mistakes. When you overeat and you go past your point of comfort, physiologic comfort, then just start again at that moment. Stop, put the fork down as soon as you are able, and don't eat again until you are authentically hungry. That progression, that little bit of progress, that will take a person to their weight loss goal over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but you also will do it painlessly with no stress, and that's important.
So you don't believe in those high protein diets then?
Well, I do, but now this is another point.
Okay.
We can make dietary improvements, and there is, you know, protein is our friend.
Okay.
It helps to naturally offset hunger. It takes more calories to digest and to assimilate and to completely process protein than it does carbohydrates. I love protein, and I lose weight quicker when I do low carbohydrates as far as the processed carbohydrates. So I do recommend making important, or as you're able, dietary improvements with each meal to the best of one's ability. So I do believe in that. Do I take on a protein diet? No. I just keep healthy goals in front of me every single day, and I do the best I can. And some days my eating is not so great, and other days it's wonderful. But if I always keep it in front of me, I make progress, and the weight comes off and stays off.
So if you had to look into the camera and really speak to that person who is just struggle, I just can't do it. Just give them something they can do, like get the bad food out of the house.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, some tips that you can do is start in this very moment. And again, speak to your doctor if you have any kind of metabolic disorder. Put that together with your doctor, your particular plan. Otherwise, I say, eat when you're hungry. Don't try to starve. You'll overeat later. Stop when your body has had enough. Don't eat again until you're authentically hungry. Put your shoes on today. You can do some activity today. And with every single meal, make some type of compromise. Not 2 slices of bread, just 1. Not caloric drinks, 0 calories. Make some half of the decadent food and replace it with salad. There's something you can do every single meal, every single day, and you will see the weight come off.
Oh, wow. See, that sounds so simple.
It really is.
I think we can do that. I think we can do that.
Everybody can do that. You know, and you start where you are. Don't over-exert or put too much on you. You'll get overwhelmed and then quit. No.
Now, I know that there's another condition that you spoke of that you overcame, and can you kind of share that story? Because to me it's so inspiring about being dyslexic.
Oh, okay. Well, having a learning disability, yes, it wasn't dyslexia, but I absolutely was diagnosed with a learning disability. I had struggled through school, didn't know why, and it was at the point when I was in medical school where I just was, I mean, the world was crashing in. I didn't know why I couldn't keep up. The associate dean actually recommended that I be tested to see if I have a learning disability. I didn't. I said, there's no way. I just need to get more organized. And I was tested, and I was shocked that I had a significant, actually, a quite significant learning disability. And so now, at first...
You're so brilliant.
Well, what I learned is a learning disability has nothing to do with one's intelligence. As a matter of fact, people with learning disabilities who are thriving and are being successful in their life, they have actually learned to compensate. And if you can imagine maybe a person without sight or missing a limb, how we learn to physiologically compensate for our deficits. So it has nothing to do with intelligence.
Wow.
It really has to do with a cognitive processing, which is a whole nother topic. But I learned that I'm an auditory learner more so than reading. The information gets in quicker through my ears than it does through my eyes. And for years, I had been taping information that I need to memorize for tests and thriving in that way. It was just a natural compensation. And once I was diagnosed, I understood why I did that. I didn't even know why I learned in that way and why I had been doing that for years.
Was that stressful to the point when you were going through that until that made you eat? Would you say that made you eat as well?
Oh my goodness. I gained so much weight in medical school, stressful. I didn't know why I was doing so terrible. It had always been a challenge. You know, academia, it was when I went to college, it had always been a challenge. I had no idea why I could not get it together. Then I understood so much when I was diagnosed. But I had gained a ton of weight in medical school, and I got pregnant twice. Oh, my. And I topped 200 pounds. I'm only 5 feet tall, so you know, I looked like an ostrich is how I describe myself, just with legs. You know, and that stressed me out even more.
Oh, wow.
So when I lost the weight from pregnancy, I was stuck at about 190 or 185, 90 pounds. And it was at that time that No More Dieting came to me.
Wow.
Yes.
I am so inspired by you. You know that because you're my friend and I talk to you all the time. But you've branched off into some other not diet related, but let's say body related medicine. Tell us about that.
Yes, okay.
Tell us about that.
Well, I will confess that I hit my 50th birthday more than a year ago, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that, and I'll never say it again. But, you know, I started to see some physical changes that I didn't anticipate and didn't appreciate. And so I started looking into, you know, beauty regimen, and I learned about platelet-rich plasma. It's called PRP, just to keep it simple.
What is it called?
Platelet-rich plasma. And what it is,
plasma, okay.
Yes, it's basically there are growth factors in platelets, which is one of the cells in our blood, and it regenerates. The growth factors regenerate whatever area they're injected to. And so literally there is collagen induction and skin and things of that sort. Beautification.
That sounds like brain surgery.
Well, no, actually it's non-surgical, but it is procedural.
Okay.
And I've just been having the time of my life incorporating that into weight loss.
So what is it exactly? Pretend I'm gonna have a 4th grade education. Okay. You're gonna take something from my blood, you're gonna shoot it in my face and make me all, or you're gonna shoot it somewhere else.
I will shoot it wherever you have me shoot it. And that is true. You know, platelet-rich plasma is being used. Well, let me go back a little bit. So the orthopedics have been using it for a couple of decades because what it is, the growth factors in the platelets stimulate stem cells in whatever area that they are injected. Okay. And so it initiates tissue growth, new tissue growth. And so the orthopedics have been using it for injuries.
I've heard about that in your knees and
sports
whatever.
medicine and all of these things. And so somebody brilliantly took it and applied it toward aesthetics. And so yes, we do draw blood, isolate platelets. We're looking for the growth factor within the platelets, and we do inject them in areas that may need more tissue fullness.
Like your face?
Oh, definitely like the face.
And so is it permanent, or do you have to have it every now and then?
It is permanent. It's just, picture this. If you had an injury, you know how our body will grow tissue back. Right. You know, if a dog bit you or whatever, and you had a big gnash or a big gash in the hand or something, and the tissue grows back, it rejuvenates tissue. So it is permanent. However, so is aging. So yes, some of these procedures,
Okay.
you would benefit from repetition of the procedures. And so yes, we do tend to do them every 3 or 4 months.
Okay, and how can people contact you? Do you speak in I know you do.
Yes,
Are
I
you
do.
available to speak at a church or a group or
I
whatever?
speak frequently, and I love to inspire and encourage any opportunity that I have. So absolutely, I can be reached. I'm in West Hills, California, ShaunaCollinsMD.com or info@ShaunaCollinsMD.com.
Oh, listen, you have so much information. You're so full of wisdom. I just felt like we just touched the top of the iceberg, you know, and the tip of the iceberg. And I would just,
Thank you.
I just love sitting at your feet and hearing this because it sounds so doable the way you say it.
It is.
It doesn't sound like starvation, you know. I think the word diet, since it has the word die in it.
Exactly. That's how I felt when I tried it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Avoid
thank
it.
you so much, Dr. Shauna.
Thank
and
you.
I'm just looking forward to starting today at lunch.
Yes.
To making one little compromise.
That's right.
Okay. So, suppose I just skip it all together. That's not a good option,
No,
is it?
no, don't skip lunch. But you can have, you know, protein-based if you'd like.
Okay.
And add vegetables to that, and that will be your very best friend.
Okay, but a quick question before I
Yes.
let you go. If I have a lot of protein, I'm supposed to drink a lot of water. Because I understand if I don't drink a lot of water when I have a lot of protein, it's going to mess with my kidneys. Is that true?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
You know, I think that's been overstated. Most people don't eat enough protein consistently to have kidney dysfunction. If a person has a kidney disorder to begin with, yes, that's probable or possible. But for the most people don't eat that much protein. Check with your doctor. If I'm not your doctor.
Okay, you have your book, No More Dieting. It's available on Amazon. It's done very well.
Everywhere,
And I
yeah.
highly
Barnes and
recommend
Noble.
it because
Yes.
it's just so practical, so
Thank you.
easy. And I think we can do this.
Thank
So
you.
thank
We
you so
absolutely
much
can.
for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, I just want to thank all of you for joining our discussion today on how to stop dieting and to start living. And I just tell you, it's just a wonderful feeling to be able to know that you don't have to crash it off. And we can pursue our divine destiny. God has given us these bodies, and I know that that's what he wants us to do. He wants us to glorify him. So remember that scripture. 1 Corinthians was it 10:31? Whatever we do, whether in word or in deed, let's do it all for the glory of God. Well, listen, I just want to say thank you for joining me also. And if you have any comments or if this program has blessed you in any way, I'd like to hear about it. So if you could kindly go to my website, Winning with Deborah, and let me hear your comments, I'd just be delighted to do that. So until next time, have a winning week. Hey, and start that today.